but otherwise everything is great. Exclamation point.
Brian, were you able to get your issues resolved?
You know, I think I've got an internet issue. I think I'm just slow, and can't even load up my speed test to get it to test speed on the internet. So I got a feeling I got an issue.
Okay.
So I'll just stay on by phone at this point.
Okay. Darlene, are you ready to start? It's 3:30. You're muted.
I would like to unmute. Am I unmuted?
Yeah, you are.
Yay. Thank you. Calling the meeting of the Forest and Beach Commission for January 2022 to order. And we need to have a roll call. Welcome everybody back. Happy New Year.
Commissioner Burling?
Here.
Commissioner Cadell?
Here.
Chair Mosley?
Here.
Commissioner Myers?
Here.
Commissioner Sowers?
Here.
Thank you. Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, so public appearances. Members of the public are entitled to speak on matters of municipal concern, not on the agenda during public appearances. Each person's comments shall be limited to 3 minutes or as otherwise established by the commission. Matters not appearing on commission's agenda will not receive action at this meeting, but may be referred to staff for a future meeting. Persons are not required to give their names, but it is helpful for speakers to state their names so that they may be identified in the minutes of the meeting. So would anyone from the public like to make a public appearance?
I'm Jeb from Friends of Carmel Forest.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
I have a short speech to give. Is now a good time?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, my name is Jeb Bailey, and I am speaking on behalf of Friends of Carmel Forest. As most of you know, our organization is a nonprofit engaged in the reforestation of the Carmel area. This includes the reforestation of cypress trees along Scenic. I first want to emphasize, of course, that this is a reforestation. The issue is that many of our iconic trees are nearing the end of their natural lives. If we do not reforest, we stand to lose one of Carmel's most iconic and beautiful symbols, as well as their multiple ecological benefits, such as animal habitat, temperature reduction through shade, etc. We have been made aware of complaints, however, from homeowners along Scenic about the reforestation. The issue seems to be that certain individuals are concerned about young trees blocking their views. Unfortunately, however, a tree cannot be planted where an existing tree is planted. And of course, we do want to be planting trees in locations that best assures their long-term viability. Some have complained that the wind barriers that we have installed to protect The young trees are too obstructing. To address this, Friends of Carmel Forest is currently in the process of reducing the size of the wind barriers to mitigate some of those complaints. As for the placement of trees, we would like to suggest the formation of a community panel consisting of homeowners along Scenic to assist in determining tree placement. We believe that increased stakeholder involvement might mitigate some of the negative response. Friends of Carmel Forest would be happy to assist the group with information to help them understand the ecological and community importance of the reforestation project and to help them help us determine the best placements. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else from the public like to make comment? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to the next portion of our agenda. Okay. So we're ready for announcements. Director Harari.
Yes, thank you, Chair Mosley. I have three quick announcements. The first has to do with meeting in the council chambers. The city council will be meeting at their February 1st meeting in the council chambers. We have the CERT volunteers that will be checking for vaccination records, negative test results, seating, spacing at 6 feet, that type of thing. So it's kind of a logistical issue. They are proceeding to go forward for February 1st. Council recommended that the commissions wait until the March meeting because there's no doubt there'll be some lessons learned on the February 1st meeting. And then if that goes smoothly or whatever we can do to accommodate the commission's meeting at the March meeting in the council chambers, we will certainly do that. They're also looking at a hybrid of in-person as well as attendance by Zoom. So if I assume that the commission would like to meet at the March meeting, we don't have to make a final decision until the February meeting, so we can kind of see how it went, on the February 1st meeting. So at a month from now, we can recommend making a final decision to go forward or not with the in-person. Hopefully that's clear. Second item, Commissioner Sowers attended the meeting, the Planning Commission meeting yesterday afternoon. The issue about the 16 scenic benches came up again. If you recall, at the December Forest and Beach Commission meeting, there was a discussion about those 16 benches. The commission had some comments that were brought back to the Planning Commission, such as why do we need so many? Was there proper amount of public input, et cetera? So that presentation was made yesterday. The Planning Commission decided to send this back to the Forest and Beach Commission for I think it's a quote, specific recommendations. So they're seeking specific recommendations from the Forest and Beach Commission. And then once that's made, planning would go back to the Planning Commission for a final public hearing. So it gives the public two opportunities to have further input into this issue. One would be at an upcoming Forest and Beach Commission meeting, and then again at the Planning Commission meeting. So anyway, stay tuned for that. I guess that would be a future agenda item. I don't know if that will be ready for the February meeting, but it might be. So we'll have to see. And the third item, I'm gonna pass the baton over to Yvette to talk about the 2022 calendar, which I thought was going to be sent out today or will be tomorrow. But Yvette, if you could tell us about the 2022 calendar, the final calendar for Forest and Beach, because what was adopted last month was what's it called, a proposed calendar. So now it's finalized. So if you could give us a comment on that, please.
Yeah, so since it was approved, we went ahead and amended it, and it is posted. I did find an error today on a date for July. I had put the 7th and it should have been the 14th. So I will go ahead and get that sent out to you guys. I could actually probably send that here in the next few minutes. And that's it.
That's all I have.
Hey,
Hey, Bob, this is Brian Sowers. Can I just add something on your second note with regards to the Planning Commission meeting?
Of course you can.
So it was my understanding that the Planning Commission was essentially passing back the bench issue to Forest and Beach to come for the Forest and Beach Commission to make a recommendation back to planning that would encompass both Brandon's survey, additional public feedback, potentially to have a site visit by the Forest and Beach Commission with maybe Carmel Cares leadership to walk us through all the issues on the pathway that would more or less be inclusive of the benches, but it could include other issues. Was that your understanding or no?
Yes, you're absolutely right. And it's a good point about the tour of inspection would be walking down the entire pathway to have a really good understanding of what benches would be at what locations. There was also talk about putting mock-up benches or at least flagging where those benches would go, so people will be able to get a good picture of it. So thank you, Commissioner Sowers, for the additional information.
Thanks.
okay. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are routine in nature and do not require discussion or independent action. Members of the commission or the public may ask that any items be considered individually for purposes of commission discussion and/or for public comment. Unless that is done, one motion may be used to adopt all recommended actions. And the one item we have under our consent agenda this month is to approve the December 9, 2021 regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Does anyone have any comments, questions? Commissioner Cadell?
Seconded.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Myers?
I was seconding.
Oh, great. So can we have a roll call, Yvette?
Mr. Burling,
Yes.
Mr. Cadell,
Yes.
Chair Mosley,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Sowers.
Yes.
All right, the motion has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to orders of business. Orders of business are agenda items that require city council, board, or commission discussion, debate, direction to staff, and/or action. Oh, I'm sorry, skip public hearings.
Yeah.
We're in public hearings next. And the first one is to approve or deny an application to remove a significant coast live oak at the northeast corner of Carpenter Street and 4th Avenue. Can we have a staff report, please, Forester Sarah?
Thank you, Chairperson. All right, so we're here at the corner of 4th Avenue and Carpenter, and the applicants have submitted an application to remove 4 trees. So tree number 10, number 11, and number 12 were found to be insignificant based on their size, but tree 13 has been found significant. Tree 13, the oak, is here at the top of this wall that protects the entrance into the garage. And you can see it here from the other side of that wall. So the tree is in contact with that wall. Let me pull up one more image for you real quick. There we go. So the applicants are proposing to, here we go, let's see here, there, are proposing to make changes to the structure itself. So right now, the structure has this driveway that's below grade, and they want to bump out that side of the house. That would be where the insignificant trees are, and it would also impede a little bit on the significant tree. This is really the only direction that the structure can be expanded. On the other side of the lot, there is a very nice specimen oak tree in a patio. So that really does limit their ability to build to the east. So with all of that being said, I'm recommending that the commission approves the application to remove tree 13, the coast live oak. The property will accommodate additional trees. Based on the recommended tree density, the lot should have 3 new upper canopy trees. So I'm saying that we should approve the permit and require the replanting of 3 upper canopy trees.
Thank you. Forester Sarah, do we have any questions? Does anybody have any questions? Commissioner Myers?
Thanks. Forester Sarah, just talking about the health of that oak in question, in your opinion, in its current state, what would you give it in a grading scale, A, B, C, D, F? A being it's super healthy and F being, oh my gosh. So
for the oaks in town, taking into all considerations, I would say that tree is in good condition. It does have some structural issues where it has been pruned in the past. It is growing into that concrete wall, so at some point that's going to start to impact the basal tissue, which will make it easier for pests and pathogens to get into the trunk of the tree. So that would be my major concern into the future. But right now it's in good shape.
So then to that, and looking at the body of the tree, the home, first of all, I believe sold about a year ago. So I don't know what the condition of that tree was prior to sale, but it sure looks as if it really hadn't been pruned through its life. It looked as if it was probably very full and probably pretty raggedy. It's just kind of my guess by the way you looked at the branch structure as it came up. Does that make sense? Because the oak in the back had a completely different kind of structural integrity to it.
From what I saw of how the tree had been pruned is it's getting close to something called lion tailing. So imagine the tail of a lion. It's bushy at the end and then it's skinny. So if you lion tail too much, it does impact the health of the tree. That one was getting kind of close. So that would be the structure issue that I was talking about. So it definitely has been controlled in some way.
Got it. Thanks. I just have one other question. I don't know if anyone else's hand is up. We talked briefly about the perimeter trees. There are some significant Monterey pines that look like of some significant age. And you had mentioned that you've done some cleanup and you could see some stumps, carcasses essentially kind of across the street. And it looked to me on kind of multiple corners of this particular property within the next, I don't know, that's what I'm asking, next maybe 10 years, there could be some removal, additional removals similar to what's taken place across the street. Would you have an opinion on that?
Sure. So I believe you're talking about you can't see them very well. So trees number 2, 4, 5, 7, 15, 16, 17. There are some larger trees in here. There's one pine that's still looking pretty good, but based on the mortality of the trees right there in that area from bark beetle, I'm not super confident that that pine will be there for a super long time. But the outside of the lot is very densely forested, and there are some younger aged trees there, so there's potential for more growth.
Got it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions or discussion? Would the applicant like to speak on this issue, or anyone, and after that, anyone from the public?
Actually, I can. I'm the applicant. I'm the architect for the project. My name's Jerry Case, and I'm connected via telephone. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, I can.
Wait, sir,
Okay.
this is Yvette. Can you state your name again?
Name is Jerry Case, C-A-S-E, last name.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've been involved in the project for about a year, a little over a year, and in terms of designing and redesigning and looking at the site and how the site's utilized now in terms of the exterior, the west side of the property is underutilized, and our addition is going to keep that same program in that I'm adding a bathroom and a master bath to the end of the house on the west. So we're going to have plenty of property to plant trees that are going to take the place of the replacement trees for this oak, and to increase the buffer that my client desires from Carpenter. So, and looking at the wall, the tree is stunted, the oak tree in question. It's a problem now. I can't see it getting any better. So, and we do need to rebuild the walls going into that retain the earth going into the garage. And we really can't move or narrow the driveway any. It's pretty narrow right now. So just for all the things that we're trying to do on the property and looking at this tree, it seemed a good fit to take it out and put in the replacements. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public want to speak on this? Seeing none, we can bring this back to the commission for discussion.
Oh,
That's okay. Well, I'm happy to open it up if no one else will.
Please. Commissioner Meyer?
Got it. So, a couple things, and when I look at this tree in question, and kind of more importantly, like what potentially the damage, like when I first read that we were going to look at this and I hadn't been to the property, it was like this damage to the wall and it could be, serious. You come into and you pull up and you look at it. Well, there's damage to the wall with looks to be a 40, 50-year-old oak tree. And then you look across the way on the other side of the driveway, there's also damage to that wall. And there's no big trees there. There's a couple, just fawning bushes that are there. I mean, I think the issue isn't so much the tree as it's probably the construction of those walls back in the 60s when I believe that's the architect thinks that's about when it was built. And he just even mentioned that the walls would have to be redone because they both they look to be in pretty shoddy condition. And I imagine the actual construction wasn't even close to what today's code would require. I think that the removal of this tree is, I think it's way too early. I think that it doesn't make any sense to take it from the property, especially, the 3 trees that were planted along the side where the house is going to be bumped out, yeah, that makes sense. Those trees haven't really established, and there can be some other things that can be done. I don't know. It sounded like Commissioner Sowers might be willing to have them replanted at his house. He thought that they were easy to pull right out. So, but I just think when we look at it and you walk around, there really is. There currently are only 2 really significant trees on the property that, and I hate to see an oak go just because it seems like the right time. I mean, just because it happens to have sold last year and someone who's coming in and has, a bunch of money, wants to put a much nicer house on the property. I think that's great. I love the development of the property. It'll be really nice for the street, the corner. But it just seems to me that tree can be saved. And I know I've asked the question, but I took a few steps back and looked to the property, and if let's say it's just even 5 years, but let's say even 10 years from now, you lose a couple of those major pines that are there. I think that corner is going to suddenly look much less covered, and I think that it won't look nearly as nice up and down the street if that oak was gone. So that's just my opinion. Yeah.
Commissioner Cadell?
Yeah, I'm a little torn by this. I do think this is the first time, at least in the more than 4 years I've been on the commission, where we've had 2 applications, neither of which had a compelling, they're more about aesthetics than anything. And so I'm torn. I would say that I think we have 2 jobs. One job is to protect the forest that we inherit, that we are the guardians of or custodians of today, but also to plan ahead for what the forest will look like long after we're gone. And this would be easy for me were it not for a commitment to plant 3 upper canopy trees as part of the permit to remove this oak. I don't think this oak is in as good a condition. This doesn't look as good to me as the other oak on the back patio or right next to the back patio. And if you took that oak out and then replaced it with 3 upper canopy trees, in a few years, I think you could actually be better. I mean, I think it could be a win-win and be something that would be good for us. And we have no way to compel or cajole anyone to plant upper canopy trees that I know of, unless it is part of this permitting process to take out the oak. So that's, and I'm not sure that I know exactly how I come down on that, but that's sort of my thinking is it wouldn't be a question for me were it not for that. I would say, look, the tree's been there a long time. It looks pretty healthy. And when you rebuild the wall, just work around it, that sort of thing. But I think the chance of getting 3 upper canopy trees could be, is appealing. So I think I would like to consider that.
Thank you. I have a question about the construction of the wall. So if those 2 walls have to come down because they have outlived their usefulness and they're damaged, and that tree is right there on the wall, what is there an engineering issue or a materials issue that is causing the applicant to need to have that tree out in order to build a wall that will be more substantial and, stand the test of time? That's a question I have. And Commissioner Cadell?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And I would point out that we have not been told that. As part of the planning and having grown up in construction, there are all kinds of ways to build a wall. Forester Davis mentioned that you may put in a fabric, that's true. You may do that and sort of an earth tiebacks into the property, but you don't necessarily have to do it for the entire length of the wall. You could do it on either side of the tree. It provides some assistance in that. I mean, there are different ways to do it, is my point. And right now, you make a good point. We haven't seen anyway. We've not seen anything from anyone that says this is necessary. There's no engineering, there's no way to engineer around it. Again, I wouldn't have a problem with this, with saying thank you and we appreciate it and we're sorry, but no, except for the possibility of getting 3 upper canopy trees, which, 10 years from now or 20 years from now could be a really good bargain for the city. But I think you raise a good point.
Commissioner Myers?
I don't know if my hand was up first, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll
I
jump
can't.
in. That's okay. I think it was our director. His hand was up first.
Director Harari, would you like?
Defer.
Sure. I'm a civil engineer and I've built more retaining walls than I care to remember. In my opinion, the structural integrity of that wall is questionable. I think it should come down. I think when you're building the renovation or the addition, that would be a good opportunity to do so. I'm not an arborist. Yes, that wall can be reconstructed in a way to allow the tree to remain. I guess my concern would be is that on the day after it's built, it would be just fine, but that the problem will reoccur at some point some point in time where it butts up against whatever the new wall configuration is. So it's a problem that won't go away, although we could buy more years of life of that tree with proper engineering with the new wall.
Commissioner Myers, did you want to say, and I'm sorry, I saw Forester Sarah's hand up also, and my screen is moving around as we go, so. Sorry.
Yeah, her hand is up first, so she can go.
I just wanted to point out that through the plan review process and the site assessment, the development is told how many trees that they're supposed to have. So through the plan review process, as conditions of approval, I put in the trees that they need to have planted to meet the density requirements. So recommendations. So regardless of this permit being approved, that property would still need 3 new upper canopy trees.
I guess that was my question when the 3 trees that you had already agreed to have removed that aren't on consideration, those essentially are, how old would you have considered those trees to be? Are they 5 years old?
They look like maybe they've been in the ground for 2 years, 3 years.
Okay.
And 2 were pines, so that takes away 2 upper canopy trees.
Got it.
So.
Yeah, that was it. So the pluses and minuses, we were kind of taking away what was going to be coming back no matter what anyway. So thanks for your clarification.
Okay, does anybody else have anything they want to say? Any more discussion, questions, motions?
Well, I'm going to make a motion to deny the applicant's request to remove the tree.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Burling,
No.
Mr. Cadell,
Yes.
Chair Mosley,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Sowers,
Yes.
With a 4-1 vote, it passes.
Thank you. Our next public hearing is the approval or denial of an application to remove a significant Monterey cypress at San Antonio Avenue to southwest of 4th Avenue. Can we have a staff report for Sarah?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So the Carter Family Trust has applied to remove a cypress here along San Antonio. I'm circling it here with my cursor. It is directly adjacent to a eucalyptus and another eucalyptus a little bit further down. The Carters would like to take out the cypress to allow the eucalyptus to have more space to grow uniformly in size instead of being stunted and shaded on one side. Currently, the lot only has these 3 trees, and to meet the density, this lot would need to have 5 upper canopy trees and 4 lower canopy trees. However, there's not very much space to have those trees planted on this individual parcel. I did suggest to the Carter's representative that taking out the eucalyptus would be a better choice, since these eucalyptus are directly adjacent to the North Dune habitat, and having that invasive seed bank continually coming up every year so close to that endangered habitat would be much more desirable to have the eucalyptus taken out instead of the cypress. The cypress is one of our preferred large canopy trees. It's in good shape. It's larger than the eucalyptus too. So my recommendation is to deny the removal of the cypress and to consider requiring more trees if the removal application is approved.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Forester Sarah? Commissioner Myers?
Thank you. Forester Davis, the cypress in question, if by chance the homeowners were agreeable and chose to follow your recommendation and remove the euc that's right next to it, what, in your opinion, what kind of time would it take for that cypress to really allow to grow itself back in, to have a more of a uniform look to it? Would be your general opinion? How much time?
Yeah, I would say probably within about 5 years, it would be bushed out more.
Got it. Thank you.
I can't see anybody else on my screen because I've got the picture of the tree on the screen. So I don't know if anybody else has questions. Okay, there we go. Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Burling?
Yeah. It seems like it pretty much goes against our usual thinking that we would recommend or allow cutting down a tree that's one of our favorite trees for eucalyptus. So I think it goes against our normal thinking of what our special trees in Carmel are. And of course, it's right near where a lot of eucalyptus were cut down for various reasons.
Commissioner Goodell?
I agree. I don't think this is a close call for me, and I would move that we deny the application. If they want to come back to the city forester.
Don't we have to actually hear from the applicant?
Yes, we have to. We have to see if someone from the.
Sorry.
This is just a Q&A.
Would like to speak.
I apologize.
I'm sorry. If there's anyone from the public or the applicant that would like to speak to this issue. Yes. I see you, Mr. Lambden.
Yes. Hi. My name is Kyle Lambden. I'm with Ground Studio, the applicant's landscape architect. And I just wanted to kind of say that the reason for removing the Monterey cypress as opposed to the eucalyptus is the additional kind of buffer to the street and kind of environment and quality that the eucalyptus provides to the street and to the house. And the fact that the Monterey cypress is leaning and the structure is not ideal. And then I would like to add that the applicant would be happy to consider replanting a Monterey cypress in a better location on site, somewhere where that could really flourish as opposed to 18 inches from eucalyptus.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public want to speak to this? Or does the commission have any questions for Mr. Lambden? Commissioner Myers?
Thanks. Appreciate you on the call, Mr. Lambden. Is there since you're the landscape architect, are there additional tree plantings that just haven't taken place on the property that we're unaware of?
I would say that we're proposing 2 additional very small trees, so not currently a cypress or something of that kind of size. But I would add that the overall landscape planting is much denser than what is there currently, and that it would be proposed as a largely native, largely drought tolerant, quite dense planting beneath the trees.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so more discussion from the commission, or do we want to make a motion?
Hang on a second. Joey, did you want to say anything? I will take that as a no.
I don't know, she's muted, maybe she.
I asked her to unmute.
Yeah.
There she goes. Joey, did you have a comment? You are unmuted, but we can't hear you if you're talking. All right, well, Sarah, I think we should just, Darlene, let's just go ahead and move forward.
Okay, so back to the commission for any more discussion or a motion. Commissioner Cadell?
I'm glad that Sarah pointed out that Joey Canepa is on the line, and that does, bring up the point that the eucalyptus is a problem, and we're not proposing to take the eucalyptus out. They wanted to take out the cypress. We propose that as an alternative, but the eucalyptus are somewhat invasive, and they have created problems or added to the problems at the North Dunes. So that's a further reason, I think, not to take out a Monterey cypress. And we're, I think we're obviously going to have at our next meeting or the following meeting, we're going to have a discussion with the Friends of Carmel Forest, I think, about how to plant more cypress, because I'm like the Friends of Carmel Forest. Many of our cypress around town were all planted within the same relative window of 10, 15, 20 years. And they are all magnificent, or many of them are, but they're all nearing the end of their natural lifespan. And if we don't start doing something pretty soon, we're going to end up with a very changed landscape. And if you want to have a sense of what it would look like, go over to San Antonio and look at what the property looks like after we took out those eucalyptus. And then imagine the view from the beach if we lost all those cypress and we don't replace them. So I don't think we need to be taking out a cypress that's healthy and contributing to the atmosphere that we like so much in Carmel. So having said that, and again, the additional problem of the eucalyptus, I would make a motion that we deny the application.
I second it.
Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Burling,
Yes.
Mr. Cadell,
Yes.
Chair Mosley,
Yes.
Commissioner Myers,
Yes.
Commissioner Sowers.
Yes.
The motion is passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I add one thing,
Sure.
Madam Chairman? And I would just say this to Mr. Lambden. If the owners are interested in trying to work with us on this issue, we're certainly open to trying to do that and work with them. But having just visited the site today, it's pretty disappointing that they obviously spent an enormous amount of money and they haven't planted a single tree. And I get it. Their notion is, I'm sure, they want to preserve their view, which is what so many people want to do in Carmel. But the truth is, one of the things everybody likes about Carmel are all the trees. Unfortunately, no one wants a tree in front of their house. So if we catered to that preference for everyone, there would be no trees because everybody would keep their view. And so I just want to offer an olive branch to the owners if they'd like to work with us and work with the city forester. If she came back with a recommendation that we thought enhanced our urban forest in the long run, it doesn't even have to be tomorrow or the next day. I mean, it could be a long-term project. Then I think we could easily be receptive to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to say something, Mr. Lambden?
Yeah, could I quickly respond to that?
Wait, hold on just a moment before you start your conversation. Bob, I'm going to need you to chime in here.
Yeah, it's not appropriate for the applicant to make comments after the decision has been made. I would recommend that Mr. Lambden call the city forester tomorrow or so and start the dialogue from that point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bob, I do have another question. As far as Commissioner Cadell's comments, does that reflect the motion? Or is that just in addition to his motion?
Additional information or additional comments. It's not part of the motion.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to orders of business. The orders of business are agenda items that require city council, board, or commission discussion, debate, direction to staff, and/or action. And the first thing is our Arbor Day planning. Forester Sarah, can you lead us on this?
Yes. So every year to maintain our Tree City USA designation, we need to have an Arbor Day celebration. From what I've seen in the past, the Forest and Beach Commission decided to set the third Saturday in April as Arbor Day. So April is a little problematic. First off, it's right before summer when the rain stops. So having planted new trees at that time of year is going to increase the amount of time it takes the trees to be established through regular watering. Also, we now have the Omicron variant of the coronavirus, which is still a little bit concerning. And I fear that having a large group activity this soon into that new variant might not be a wise decision. So to accommodate the pandemic and to get closer to the rainy season, I propose that we keep Arbor Day in October like we did this year. I think it's a good time of year. And go with the 1st of October. That way we'll be plenty far away from the Halloween events.
Anybody have any questions or comments to say about our Arbor Day in October? That sounds fine with me. Weather's usually perfect in October.
That was the first weekend of October?
Yes, yes. From what I understand, in October, we have the pumpkin roll is being planned for the 15th or the 22nd. So the Saturdays that we would have in October available would be the 1st or the 8th.
I like it.
Oh, and we also need to appoint a planning committee.
Yes. So do we want to make it the 1st or the 8th? Anybody have a recommendation on that? And who would like to be on the ad hoc committee?
I want to be on it again. This time I promise to participate.
Hey, yeah.
I'll be in town.
Okay, since you volunteered, Commissioner Myers, would you like it on the 1st or the 8th?
Well, I think the 8th feels like we're actually kind of getting into October, so I like the 8th.
Okay. Anybody else want to be on the ad hoc committee? Let's see.
Could we save a space for a representative from the Friends of the Forest?
Oh, that's wonderful.
That person is later.
Yes. So, who would contact the Friends of the Forest to get a representative?
Well, I think Jeb would. He's on the call.
Absolutely, I'm writing it down right now.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. And do we have anyone else from Forest and Beach that want to be on the ad hoc committee this year?
I'm trying to get out of it, Darlene.
Well, I've done it 2 years in a row. But actually, I think we skipped a year because of that stinking virus. But Commissioner Cadell, you would like to be on the committee?
No, but I did it my first year and it was good. We enjoyed it. I would just point out that I will be gone at the end of May, and there will be a replacement. And I think you might save a spot. That would be a wonderful thing for a new incoming commissioner to take on. And there's plenty of time between June 1st and October 1st or October 8th to pitch in and help out. So I think that I think
awesome
I would
plan.
Bookmark a spot for who that new person will be.
All right. You've now been appointed to the Forest and Beach Commission, and you are the lucky ad hoc committee member. Is anybody fine with that? All right. Any more discussion on our Arbor Day celebration planning?
Chair Mosley, I'll confirm the date and make sure that it's clear on the city calendar as well for the 8th.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's see. 2022 Forest and Beach Commission quarterly meeting topics.
Did we need a vote on that, or is that okay?
Do we need a vote on the Arbor?
This is not something we vote on.
No vote is necessary. I think there's clear consensus on a path forward.
Thanks. And okay, so going down to the quarterly meeting topics, I don't remember going to a quarterly meeting yet, so I need some help.
So I was hoping that as a group we could come together and decide what topics we wanted to hear more in depth about. So it would be one of the regular Forest and Beach Commission meetings. We would just know that 4 times that year we were going to do a deeper dive into a specific topic. So thinking of that through the lens of what the code says are the responsibilities of the commission, we're supposed to develop the management plan, provide publicity, encourage donations, and then advise the city council on things related to the beach and the waterfront. So I'm happy to take ideas, or I can start leading you down a list. How would you like to proceed?
Well, I think you're a wonderful leader, Sarah.
Okay, so I'll go down the list. So I think our first deep dive would be the benches. I think we have that one queued already up. Also, we could talk about what the deliverables are going to be for the urban forest parks and beach management plan. So kind of outlining what we want out of that process. Commissioner Sowers, did you have something to add?
Yes. I see his hand. I saw his picture too.
Yeah, so I've got my computer finally working here. One of the things, I mean, I guess, Sarah, I think the bench thing is a good one. I think in the context around that is really more of a comprehensive look about what's going on the scenic pathway. There's a lot of stuff going on down there beyond the benches that, you know, we've got irrigation, we've got landscaping, we've got new fence structures for erosion. There's quite a bit of activity that's kind of in process already down there, although I think maybe as a part of our beach walk, you know, we could have Carmel Cares kind of walk us through all the issues that are related down there, because there are quite a few. It's just not the benches. I think the bench is one of the priorities, but there's quite a bit of activity going on down there that could use some support and direction from Forest and Beach that could move its way up through, I don't know, planning and city council. So I think beyond just the bench, it would be more about the general discussion about the scenic pathway as well as the beach is one topic, and I think there's quite a lot there. And ideally, I think if we're going to do a quarterly meeting, it'd be nice. I mean, if we could put that one as a top priority to visit, because there are a lot of things in that Bob could reiterate that we've already got going down a pathway on, but could use some help from us, as well as maybe some other commissions or support vis-a-vis whether it's the city council or public works to get moving down a direction of getting some activity going down there that would be helpful to get rolling on. So, I mean, I think as far as other things in the course of the topic, maybe we could each send a list of items that are, you know, that we think could be as a part of the quarter, and we could revisit that in another meeting and pick the 4 that we think were helpful. That's just a suggestion. I don't know that we could pick all 4 quarters here tonight, but I think we all have certain aspects of where we think would be 4 meaty topics we could delve into.
How do we determine when the quarterly meeting is? And so if it's part of our regular Forest and Beach meeting, I think we should set up which months those quarterly meetings are, so that we're prepared for longer discussions and can get our information and those sorts of things taken care of. So how do we do that?
Sarah, do you want to go ahead and say the dates?
Hello?
Oh, well, does everyone want to have a chance to make their comments before we think about picking the dates? Because I see 3 hands up.
Yeah, I think Bob was first, and then Commissioner Cadell and Commissioner Myers.
Okay.
Yeah, if I may go next. We've heard some comments for years now that this Forest and Beach Commission has become the tree commission. Like just all the topics are about trees, and that's the predominant topic. But I think if you look back in the municipal code and historical commission meetings, the beach and parks has been not ignored entirely, but just it's taken a back burner to trees. So I think what Sarah is recommending is that we expanded this commission back to include beach topics, to include park topics. We do have some big ticket things right here on the list as it is. One is the forest management plan, which is a funded project. We're hoping to get a lot more grant funding, which would really make it a spectacular project. But that's a big ticket item, and it might not just be one meeting, like after 3 months, boom, one meeting, dig deep into the one item, because that could go on for months afterwards. Second, another issue is, as Commissioner Sowers was saying, the beach and the scenic pathway. There's a lot of issues there. A lot of this is above and beyond the commission. It also impacts the 5-year capital improvement plan. So there's a whole lot of issues here. Again, the issue is, the intent here is to expand the scope beyond just trees. Of course, trees is a key part, but to also factor in forest management plan, the beach and the waterfront, and also the marketing. About a year ago, the commission started a marketing ad hoc group to get the message out, because we were seeing, and we're still seeing on occasion, where contractors come in, they cut down a tree, they don't ask permission, the value of the house goes up $100,000, and they get fined $5,000 or whatever. And they're either ignoring the rules, or which is more of an enforcement problem, but also some of them just don't know what the rules are in the first place. So yes, we have some information on our website. Yes, we have some information in the municipal code, but we need, I think the commission was saying in the past, we need to be much more proactive in getting the word out, whether it's with flyers or newsletters or whatever. So these are some of the big ticket issues that we'd like to start tackling. We're not going to get them, we probably won't get all 4 done in a year. And I guess what we're asking the commission is which ones bubble up to the top, and we can start focusing on those over the next 3 to 6 months. Hopefully that kind of makes a little bit of clarification. That might have made it more confusing. I don't know.
Who's next? Commissioner Cadell?
I think Bob raises a number of good issues. I think the first issue, though, that we should deal with, in part because this is already an issue that's gotten a lot of discussion and is fairly high profile, is the benches on Scenic. And I think it should be, I think the others have said, it should be Commissioner Sowers, it needs to be an integrated approach. So we need to have Friends of Carmel Forest come in to talk about, because we don't want to put a bench where we should be putting a cypress tree. We don't want 20 years from now the cypress trees to be gone, but we've got 60 benches. So I think we need to have the various stakeholders involved, and that because all of this percolated through the fall, and the Planning Commission effectively made a decision, and City Council, and then we're now asking them to walk that back. I think that really should be front and center, but we need to be comprehensive about it. It needs to be not just benches, but it also needs to be trees, and it needs to be irrigation and the pathway itself. We need to involve Carmel Cares. So that's a pretty, that's a major topic that could easily occupy a lengthy Forest and Beach Commission meeting and have some carryover after that in terms of implementation or in terms of working out some disagreements. But I think that is probably something that needs to be at least 2 months off in the future, not at the next meeting, because what you want to do is you want to issue a notice to people, get the word out and say, okay, in 2 months or 3 months, whenever it is, I'd rather it be sooner rather than later, and I'd certainly like to participate, but I think we need to give everybody a heads up and say, we're going to have this open and we're going to be looking at these issues and making a comprehensive set of recommendations, and we'd like you to be involved as a stakeholder. And so I think that's at least 2 months away. Maybe it's 3. I hope it's not more than 3. And if we could do it in 2, I think that'd be great. And then beyond that, I think Director Herrera is right. There are some big issues: forest management, the nature, the mission the trail nature preserve. There's some things you could really spend a lot of time on. I think this is more front and center right now because of the publicity, and Scenic is, Scenic is our showcase. There's no aspect, as wonderful as Carmel is, and the neighborhoods and the trees and all of that. If there's one iconic aspect to Carmel, it's Scenic, and it's that beach, and it's the Cypress and the bluff, and it's a remarkable spot, and we need to preserve it and protect it, and we need to be thoughtful about anything that we do. So I would ask that be front and center to the extent that we make a decision on that. I think that would be first, and then at the same time, we could then also be alert to, because I don't think we have to decide tonight what we're going to do for the next year. I think we need to figure out what the next meeting is, the first quarterly meeting, and then in the meantime, let some other ideas percolate up, and so that we can then have a discussion about what the one after that would be. Anyway, that's my 2 cents, or more than 2 cents.
Commissioner Myers?
Got it, thanks. So just maybe I want to just go back to Forester Sarah, the purpose of holding these quarterly meetings from your perspective, since this is an idea that you're bringing to the table, is to kind of get to some kind of 30,000 foot topics. And I kind of liked how you, tell me if I'm where I go wrong here. I'm trying to put this all back together. I liked how you laid out what our charges are as a commission. And it seemed like they actually broke out into 4 specific charges. Was that correct? It seemed like it when you read them off, and I'm hoping. So I'm hoping that's the case. Well, so to that point, in trying to help you with, and help us, I guess, come up with some structure to this without, like Commissioner Cadell said, without identifying exactly what we're going to talk about in each of these. Why not look at these quarterlies and break them up based off of those 4 different charges, and then come up with a topic that's tied to, say, for instance, fundraising efforts, and then make sure that when we're talking about this in this quarterly meeting, we're addressing fundraising efforts for the forest, for the beach, and for the park. So we talk about all 3 of our kind of key kind of eyes we're supposed to have, that we're supposed to be watching over, so that we don't leave any of them out. And also maybe we can kind of figure out as a group or as a commission, we'll figure out where we're lacking or where we haven't been putting any attention, if we actually start to think a few months out, like, hey, what are we doing for fundraising for the beaches? What are we doing so it allows us to come to the table. I think there's lots of agenda items that we all know can come up, and any of us as a commissioner and or the public can say, hey, I want this as an agenda item in a future meeting, and we can add that, right, and have these big discussions about the benches or whatever it is. Those can come up. But I think for the purpose of, if I'm understanding you right about what you were hoping to accomplish by putting the quarterly meeting topics in place, it seemed a little more higher level. A deeper dive, but higher level, I don't know. And so I would suggest that we focus more along those charges, make that be kind of the reason to be in each one of those quarters, and then again make sure we are we're hitting all three notes: the forest, the beach, and the parks. To Director Harari's points.
I don't think it was my idea. I think the idea came from the commission.
Oh, it was mine.
I think it was between you and Commissioner Sowers that kind of was pushing on the idea of being more focused and not just on trees all the time.
Okay.
And I put the section of code in the staff report just to, I don't know, kind of toss up a straw man to see what you think. But by any means, I'm not saying that we have to stick to this, but you can if you want.
Well, obviously, it was a brilliant idea if Commissioner Sowers thought of it. But I think anyway, then maybe if it was something we've talked about in the past and I'm just not recalling it straight away, I think structurally that could be a good way for us to approach this and come up with some very specific to our charges. That's my thoughts anyway. Looks like my time's out.
Thank you. Commissioner Myers, Commissioner Sowers, did you want to add some comments?
Just in kind of going back with Mike Goodell's comment about the whole scenic pathway thing. I think whether the scenic pathway is the #1 priority we want for the first quarterly meeting or whatever, each one of these quarterly things, I think as we come up with the ideas behind it, it might be helpful, and at least in regard to the scenic pathway, to have one of us be kind of an in charge representing the forest and beach to really put a impactful meeting together that would have all the sources of all the interested parties, so that whether it's one of us or two of us take on the quarterly meetings and kind of gather all the information and get all the interested parties together so that the meeting is very focused and actionable, where one of us or two of us hold hands together, or one of us, and I'll take on, if it's appropriate, I would take on the scenic pathway, with the caveat, I am a Carmel Cares volunteer down there, and I don't know, I'm just being transparent about it. I don't know if that's a problem for me being a lead in that regard, but I would be more than happy to take the lead on that topic, because I know there's a lot going on with it. And I think I might be able to pull it all together, get all the interested parties, and then present it to us as a commission and address how we can move it along.
With that being said, if we want to talk about scenic and the benches first, I would suggest maybe we do that in April or maybe May to allow us time to do the outreach to the property owners on scenic. So I'll have to go and get their mailing addresses so we can do a direct contact that way. I don't think it'll be that hard, but it'll take just a minute to be able to do that.
I would suggest that we work with planning before we make any decision on exactly what month to bring back the scenic pathway.
Well, I mean, but we're talking about bringing it back, though, Bob, to the Forest and Beach Commission, not necessarily the Planning Commission.
I understand, but these issues are intermingled, as you noted.
Right. As I remember, in the meeting that they had with us, one of the commissioners mentioned he doesn't care if it's 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or a year.
That's correct.
As long as, in his view, we cover all the bases and get all the interested parties gathered around this, and do an appropriate review to give them, suggestions for how we go forward. So I don't know. Timing is, as I said, I think we're the ones. The Forest and Beach Commission have been directed by Planning Commission to present them what we believe the path forward is for the benches. Is that correct?
Yes. It comes back to the Forest and Beach Commission for decisions, recommendations.
Right.
Get back to the Planning Commission for decisions. And that decision by Planning Commission could be appealed to the City Council.
Right. Okay.
So there's a couple of potential steps here.
Commissioner Goodell.
I recommend, I don't think it's necessary, and I don't think it would be appropriate since it's not been noticed as an agenda item. So I don't think we have a motion that could be made here. But I think if people agree and there's a consensus, I think we seem to be headed in a direction where April, I'd prefer April, but if it needed to be May, then I think we could have a focused quarterly meeting focused on the scenic pathway and all aspects of that, along with the beach. And I would love it if Commissioner Sowers took sort of the laboring order, reach out. And I don't think there's anything wrong. I get the point that the Planning Commission wants input from us, but I think it probably does make sense as a matter of courtesy to give them a heads up in case someone from the Planning Commission wants to participate and be part of the sort of the overall discussion. Since we're going to be reaching out to Friends of the Carmel Forest, we're going to reach out to and Carmel Cares. I don't see any reason not to alert and the homeowners on Scenic. I don't see any reason not to also let the Planning Commission know in case they would like to participate or have a representative be available. And I think that would be a great. I mean, I think this has a lot of potential, and I appreciate Commissioner Sowers and Commissioner Myers sort of raising this, and now Forrester Davis sort of taking the initiative to move this along. So thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to say anything about this? And how do we close out this topic?
Yeah, I kind of want to know the topics. Once we have the topics, then we can lay out the calendar, because some things will be a heavier lift than others.
I think we got enough feedback to identify the pathway, the benches, the other aspects of the waterfront as our first quarterly topic, and that will keep us plenty busy for several months. However, Madam Chair, you might want to bring it up for the members of the public to have comment on before we move on from this topic.
Okay. Does anyone from the public want to comment on this discussion? Seeing none?
So Darlene, I mean, the only one I see that is, if that's Shirley Moon on the line here, she might have.
I think Shirley, yeah, but she's on mute, and I don't know how to get to her to ask her if she wants to unmute or if she.
Maybe she hears us.
Yeah,
I can hear you. I got to the meeting late, so I didn't feel like it was appropriate for me to comment. I didn't quite hear the beginning of Brian's presentation. From my standpoint, I'm happy to help in any way I can to give the overview at your quarterly. I think that's what you're trying to set up, something that would be specifically about the scenic pathway. And I'm happy to help in any way I can with that. And I don't know if you have any questions or other things for me.
I think, Shirley, this is Brian. I mean, I think the main point is we're setting up quarterly meetings to have topics that are impactful to the Forest and Beach Commission that are related around our responsibilities. And one of the topics that, again, because of the pass from planning and the planning department on the benches, we have somewhat identified that and along with the pathway would be our first major topic. And as we've discussed, there are a lot of other issues wrapped around beyond just the benches with landscaping, tree planting, you name it, down on the pathway that we could put together an overview that would be an action plan that may before that quarterly meeting that would segue into that quarterly meeting. And I put my hat in the ring to be one of the Forest and Beach Commissioner leads on this to coordinate that for that first meeting. And so I'd appreciate, your support because you're actively involved in that on the pathway and other issues associated with the pathway in the beach area there. And just everyone in the commission knows that as well. So it would be helpful if, as I said, I would be a lead from the Forest and Beach Commission working with Carmel Cares and yourself, as well as the other interested parties to come up with a plan around this quarterly overview.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I would be happy to participate in any way that would be helpful. And I appreciate the fact that your perspective is that it's really interfaced with so many other issues down on the pathway, that if the Forest and Beach Commission could have a very comprehensive overview of what's going on, I think then our decisions can be more justified and
Great.
more informed.
Great. Thanks, Shirley.
Thank you. Commissioner Burling?
I think it sounds to me like we all, I hadn't spoken, but we all agree that a good place to start is the beach and the beach walk and the trees there. So can we settle that? That would be the first thing we approach.
Okay. I'm settled for that, and do we think we can get that accomplished by April or May? And so would that become an agenda item, and how far in advance?
Bob?
Sorry, my dog just heard something.
Well, I think we would need to determine the format of the meeting. Is this a walking tour? Is this a tour with a comeback and a sit down for a presentation? After we have this meeting, deciding what the next steps will be. So I think we'll just need to sit down and brainstorm how we want to construct the meeting to begin with, and then infill it from there.
I would recommend that staff, whose job it is to come up with these things, develop the game plan, work with Commissioner Sowers, work with Shirley Moon and others, and planning department, others, to start to put this game plan together. But it was a good, healthy discussion about, this is not all about trees. There's other issues here. There's big ticket issues here, and let's start tackling them, starting with the pathway.
Great.
Okay. Thank you all, and we'll wait to hear back from staff. Next on our agenda is the City Forester's report for December of 2021.
Alrighty, I'll show the graphs in a minute. So we have been moving right along with our pilot median on Ocean Avenue. We have everything installed except for the mulch. So we'll be putting the mulch down hopefully next week. We're using some different technology than what's been used around here before. So we have Bluetooth enabled irrigation clocks, so we can talk to our clocks remotely and don't have to get out and walk across the street into the median to fiddle with the clocks. We're also using inline drip emitters. So instead of all of that spaghetti that goes everywhere just to one plant, it'll have a continuous spacing. So the soil will be wetted throughout to benefit the trees. And yep, those are the two things that were pretty cool. We've added native as well as cultivated plants, which is new for the median. So see how we like introduction of some different things. There was a little bit of vandalism at the pickleball nets, and the PD is investigating that, and that's underway. We really didn't have any big trees come down during any of the rains. One was a pine that was private property that snapped because it had a very large cavity. Another was an oak that gently fell into the road just because the root system was compromised, and the weight of the water on the tree was too much. We did have an interesting episode. A moving truck decided to somehow get caught inside of a tree. So the truck had deviated from the truck route, so they were in a spot where the trees are much lower. They hit a private property oak tree that got stuck between the cab of the semi and the trailer of the semi. So we had to work to extricate that so we could get the truck out of the way and clear the right of way. So I believe the driver was issued a citation for not staying on the truck route. We've been planting trees now that it's the cooler, rainier season. We potted up all of our trees from CAL FIRE with the help of the kids at the youth center. So we have a little nursery growing on up here on our rooftop by the plaza, police plaza. City Council did give us the approval to go ahead and submit a full application for the CAL FIRE grant. So if we get that money, that will go to a completely fleshed out master plan, as well as inventory and a tree planting of about 50 new trees. So we should have heard back on that. All of the grants haven't been scored yet. We should have known in November. So CAL FIRE is dragging their feet a little bit. So any day we might find out if we got that grant or not. Okay, I can share my screen. Okay, on to the graphs. Sorry for the formatting and it split across 2 pages like that. I apologize. So overall, the number of trees that were required to plant for the entire year came up to 135, which is, I think, is pretty good. We are sticking about that 2 trees come out, 1 tree goes back in number, which definitely could be better. The densities are being met pretty regularly, or there's just no space. We processed over 200 applications for this year. You can see that we're doing a better job of requiring more upper canopy trees to be planted than lower canopy trees. So that's a good trend. And in terms of the work that the city did itself, I like this number here on removals. It's trending to be about half of previous years. So that's me showing that we're getting all of the bad stuff cleared out. So there's not too much of a backlog. We put in 55 trees this year, and we're still planting in the winter season. And it seems like development is ticking up a little bit. That could be just me in my mind, but I've been reviewing a lot of plans and doing a lot of assessments. So I think we'll see more of those on the horizon. As far as looking towards what the year has for us in 2022, it's a second year of a La Nina weather cycle, which is highly variable. So typically in a La Nina year, our little patch of the California coast doesn't get wetter and it doesn't get drier. It just kind of stays the same. But in the second year of those La Nina events, it's kind of the same, but the storm events are different. We might have more storms, we might have fewer storms. So basically 2022 in terms of the climate is a shoulder shrug. We aren't really sure what's going to happen there. So any questions about that today? Commissioner Sowers?
Or just in the context of replantings, and I don't know whether this topic has been broached when I haven't been a commissioner, but given global warming and the choice of trees that we use for replanting, are we addressing the species that are going to be more adaptable to a warmer climate, where we have a lot of problems with existing trees that have been, planted here over centuries that don't seem to be holding up well due to climate change? Is there a arborist plan for what species are going to be a better upper canopy or lower canopy tree given a warmer climate, less fog?
Yes. Yeah. So this commission is charged with approving the approved tree list. So we'll come back to that. But through the master planning process, climate is something we're going to have to discuss. We're also going to have to talk about aided migration. What trees grow to the south of us that can survive in the current climate but would thrive in a projected future climate? And as a whole, as a community, we need to have a conversation around, can we stick with natives or do we need to switch to cultivated trees? And if that needs to happen, what are the visual characteristics do those trees need to have? For example, if we like the look of pine, but our pines aren't doing so great, could we switch to the Cassoraria, which is the Australian beefwood that looks exactly like a pine tree, only a little bit fluffier? So all of that will be wrapped up in that master plan, and that climate driver is kind of, it's one of the keystones of urban forest planning. We know the climate's going to change. So what can we get to establish and live today that's going to be an adult tree 30 years down the line in a different climate? Did I cover it all?
Yeah, I guess, but if I look at the trees that we were suggesting 5 years ago versus what we're suggesting today, I don't see a change.
Great.
Point.
Yeah, so we have that document of approved trees, but if a property owner needs to plant a tree and they want to do something different, if it's not invasive and it's appropriate for the space, then I've been letting the property owners plant different trees. We're doing that here in the right-of-way when we plant as well. So the dominant species are staying the same with the pine, the cypress, and the oak, but we're kind of sneaking diversity in onesie twosies.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, well, it looks like Darlene's muted. You're still muted. Now you're on.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Thank you very much, Forester, Sarah, and we will move to our Public Works report for December 2021.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let's see, Sarah, you're going to put that up on the screen. Okay, we're just going to go down the list, A, B, C, D, and E. For A, City Council actions, there's not really anything to report about City Council actions related to forestry, parks, and beach that we haven't already talked about. In terms of capital improvement projects, a couple of items. One is that there was a fire fuel reduction project that was performed in Mission Trail Nature Preserve. The work is substantially complete. This was about $58,000, I believe, worth of fire fuel reduction. The contractor has some cleanup to do, as Commissioner Burling, I think, mentioned earlier today. There's a little bit of cleanup to do that will be happening next week, but that project's been completed. Also, at the February 1st City Council meeting, it will include a new contract with an engineering firm to design the first 3 of 8 drainage-related projects in the Mission Trail Nature Preserve. These 3 are at the south, near the south end of the Mission Trail by Rio Road. One is a pipe, one is a drainage channel, and one is a little boardwalk. So anyway, we have a per capita grant of, I think it's $180-something thousand. So we're going to start the design process as well as the environmental permitting process for those first 3 projects. So we're getting the ball rolling there. I believe that's all I have for capital projects. Climate Committee meeting was canceled in December. The next meeting is next Thursday, January the 20th. They're going to be talking about the greenhouse gas emission forecast report, which is now complete. and continue to look at the climate adaptation and climate action plans, which is still two active documents that are getting a lot of feedback and a lot of comments, which is great, which is the whole idea of getting public input. So that's going well. Volunteer organizations, in particular Carmel Cares, of course, they're continuing to maintain the scenic pathway as we've discussed tonight. Devendorf Park, grounds of Forest Theater, Vista Lobos Park, the Sunset Center grounds, a bunch of meeting islands and other areas. They've finishing up renovating the exit gate at the Forest Theater. And they've completed the fabrication of nice, I think it's mahogany wood frames for the pilasters at the scenic pathway where the signs are now. So we have these signs, which are not all uniform, but we do have signs about no beach fires or whatever. We're going to be taking those down instead of the old rickety wood that's there now, or in some places there's no wood at all. It's just right on the concrete. They're going to be put in these nice frames, and then after that we can put in nice new and matching signage. So anyway, it'd be very helpful to get those frames up. I believe that's it for volunteer organizations. And miscellaneous forestry, parks, and beach related items. A couple of good tidbits of information, news. Right now, our forestry division has 3.5 staff. So we have the city forester, we have a gardener, and a senior maintenance worker. And we kind of have half-time one of the maintenance workers that kind of floats back and forth between forestry and streets. We have 3 incoming, so almost doubling our forestry division, so that should make Sarah happy. We have a tentative, it's premature to announce the name, but on February 1st, we'll have a new tree care specialist to replace the one that left us a couple months ago. So that's really good news. He's going to be dynamite. We'll introduce him to the commission hopefully next month. Second, we've made an offer for a maintenance worker for forestry, a full-time forestry worker. The offer's been made. They're going through the background check process now, so that's good news. And we're about to post an ad for an administrative analyst position, which will help Sarah track the phone messages, the permits, the inspections. There's a whole lot of administrative work that Sarah could benefit from. So anyway, the position is about to be posted, and then hopefully we'll get a fantastic person to kind of really supplement the forestry division. So that's good news on the horizon. We had a contractor paint the Piccadilly Park restroom at no cost to the city, which is really nice until they put graffiti on it last weekend. Speaking of graffiti, I wanted to let you know that we're having record-breaking graffiti attacks, especially in park restrooms. This past weekend was particularly bad. So just be aware of it. If anyone sees something, call 911. We need to catch these guys. And last but not least is the Blue City certification. So Blue City is a new, I believe it's nonprofit entity that is working throughout California to identify cities and governmental agencies that have good stewardship of the ocean, or protecting the ocean. And they have different levels of certification, ranging from, I think the top notch is an ambassador of the Pacific Ocean to, I don't know, remedial ocean watcher. But anyway, so we filled out an extensive application last week. That was before Christmas. Last week we were interviewed, And they asked us a whole lot of questions about what we're doing to protect the ocean. And that's things from ranging from minimizing cigarette butts from getting into the water, into the bay, to our beach activities, our working with regional partners, things like that. Next week, we should be finding out how we rank. They already told us that we will be certified. It's just a matter of to what level. So we're hoping to go for the gold ring as an ambassador level. Not sure yet. But anyway, I think that's a real feather in our cap. They would be presenting a proclamation to the city council, and come to think of it, maybe we'd have them come to present something to the Forest and Beach Commission as well, and get some press coverage as well, as Carmel being a good steward of the ocean. And I think that's all I had, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. You can take the screen down, Sarah, please.
Hey, Bob, this is Brian. Hey, I had a quick question. How's your process going on a project manager position?
Project manager position, we had posted a position. We made an offer back in, I want to say November. That person waffled on us for a while and then eventually declined, and I think he's moving to Florida. Since that point of time, in November, December, the city council raised the salary range for project manager to be much more competitive, because we were way under the curve, which really limited the number of applications we got. So now the salary range is much more competitive. We have posted it. The closing date is the 27th of January. I don't know quite have a number of applications at this point, but I do know that we advertise it all over the darn place. So hopefully we should get a whole lot more applications this time.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Discussion? Thank you very much. So future agenda items, just to make sure we have everything covered here, I think we have a lot of future agenda items to maybe I don't know who would give us a quick rundown, but I know that we're going to be doing the benches again, and it looks like that's going to be coupled with a lot of things that are going on along Scenic. So do we want to add anything else that we want today, or are we just going to know that we've discussed all of this, and the next time our agenda comes out, some of these things are going to start popping up for us? Or is there anything we want to add at this time?
Yeah, I'm totally fine if you guys want to shoot me an email or whatever with ideas for other items as well. And we can just keep a running list, and things might come up that we want to hear sooner than later. So I think our first one is to tackle the scenic pathway. And then we'll have in the queue discussing the deliverables for the master plan in the future. And we'll know what we need to do after we find out if we get the CAL FIRE grant or not. And then after that, we'll just keep a running list as things come up.
Okay, great. Any other discussion, or are we ready to adjourn our meeting for January? Director Harari? No? Good. All right, the meeting can be adjourned. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.